Hi, Jillian. Hi, Lisa. It's so good to see you.
Hey, Juval. Hey, Jillian.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Juval. Nice to be here.
In our little talk today, we will answer some selected questions and thus get to know each other a little better. And everyone who's watching will have a chance to get to know us a little better. First question is, what profession other than your own would you attempt?
I think my dream profession, besides being a rabbi, was always to be a Broadway star. I always wanted to do that. I probably wouldn't have made it, so I probably would have fallen back on being a lawyer if I hadn't been a rabbi.
And I think a lot of BCC people, but maybe not Jillian, knows that I applied to clown college twice. Or as I like to say, I was rejected twice from clown college. But I also did get a PhD in English literature with the intention of being a professor. That never happened, but it was an idea.
I think I would have tried my chances in the graphic design area and then maybe in the pop star department as a singer-songwriter. But I was just thinking, can you imagine the stage production we could be putting up in our alternative professions? Jillian, the Broadway star, Lisa, the
Clown.
clown, and
I love that.
and I don't know what I would be. Probably design the program and maybe sing a song or two. That could be nice.
I mean, this is like a Pormspiel waiting to happen.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it could happen.
Could happen, like alternative reality. Question number 2. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I've been given some great pieces of advice over the years by different people. I would say in terms of being a rabbi, my best piece of advice was from my rabbi who said, integrity is everything. As soon as you've lost your integrity, you have nothing left. So I think about that a lot.
I was also given a piece of advice while attempting to be accepted into rabbinical school, which was you just have to be yourself. Don't try to be like anybody else.
Interesting. I've been given a very similar advice. In my last year of cantorial school, I was very occupied with my voice not sounding a particular way, not having a vibrato, not being operatic enough. And I carried these thoughts with me to the day of my recital. And I just remember after my recital, one of the participants came up to me and basically just invited me to embrace my own voice as it exists within myself. It took a while to fully embrace it, but I think I'm able to do it these days, and I'm glad I was given that advice.
I think people can feel authenticity, that even if they can't put their finger on it, they know when they're seeing it and they know when they're not.
That's
I
right.
think that's such an important thing to find in yourself. And it takes some time, right? It's not an easy thing to always be.
Yes. And interestingly, I think children naturally will sense it and respond to it. And the more we grow up, we, I think, learn to be polite about it and not point something out. And I think we miss out on a lot of things,
Mm.
both the one who perceives something as being inauthentic as the one who's not comfortable yet being fully authentic.
Did you have a particular kid example in mind when you said that about kids?
Every kid.
They will tell you outright.
Yes.
I think it's a really special thing. I think you're right. It's sad just when you realize that people lose that over time and become polite and become to fit into sort of a rubric of what we think we're supposed to be. So there's something refreshing, and you've done a really good job if the kids like it. They're not gonna tell you if they don't.
Yes. I wonder to that extent if that's why the family blessing we recite on Friday night has found such great resonance for so many with its closing lines, may you be who you were meant to be, who you were put on this earth to be. Just this invitation and reminder to never bend to be someone you're not. Question number 3. What's the most influential book you've ever read?
I will say my first instinct when asked this question, although if I was given enough time, I could give you 10 other books, is My Name is Asher Lev by Chaim Potok. I love this book. It is, I think, had a great influence on me because of this, if you've read it, the understanding about art and the way that art and creativity play into Judaism, and when they knock heads, especially more traditional Judaism, and how to find that sense of creativity in each of us and allow it to come out and allow it to bring joy and new things into our sense of Judaism and not be stifled by it.
Like Jillian, I don't think I have a favorite, but I definitely have books and writers that were influential, and certainly Torah has been consistently influential to me, and every time I dip into it, something in me responds, and usually something different in me responds. So that feels powerful to me. And I would say also, just from Tanakh in general, that the book of Esther, I have a similar response to that every time I read it. And also just knowing sort of what's been done with it Jewishly, it influences me a lot. But I also love the writer Grace Paley, who just taught me, I mean, even when I was already in graduate school in literature, she taught me just through her writing so much about writing and about books and about people. Yeah, I'm just forever grateful to her. Of blessed memory.
I think this is such an interesting question, as to me, literature, like cinema, like music, is enjoyed at its best when it resensitizes you to our shared humanity, and when it creates this space in which you're brought into the here and now, and time just flies, and you rediscover the interconnectedness and perhaps a connection with the creator, something that is greater than you. And to me, that can happen if we focus on books. It can happen with a cookbook, it can happen with a self-help book, it can happen with a novel. There's such a joy for me, especially when I read books in Hebrew. There's a certain style in Hebrew literature that I've discovered that is just so rich and flowing, and I guess being on the receiving end of one's creative output that is put out with so much love and so much intentionality is a joy and a privilege, and one of the beautiful things of being human. Not just being able to create, but also being able to consume in the most productive way. So that's a very general response, and I think I'm going to stick to it, even though I have some titles. Question number 4. If you could learn one new thing, what would it be?
I have long wanted to know every language in the world. I know that's not one thing, but I'm putting it into one category, so I'm cheating a little bit. There's so much richness in language, and being able to communicate in so many different places and ways and read things. There's just so many things I want to know that I can't access because I don't know every language in the world. That would be something definitely on my list. Another, I know it's only one, but I'm going to tell you another one. I would like to learn how to be a morning person. I know that's also probably not something you can actually learn, but I would really, really like that.
I would like to, I don't know if this is learning or not, but I would like to be more musical. So that's partly learning more about music, and I guess that could be within my grasp, but I also wish I knew what it felt like to be able to sing in a way that other people wanted to share that with me.
I think you can sing, if I may say so. I would like to learn how to tidy up in a way that is efficient. for some reason, I kind of missed the classes on tidying up efficiently. And every time I try to do it, I always find a dust bunny hanging around a surface I just wiped clean. It's just never as clean as when I have a professional come and do it, which I guess is why they're professionals. It would be nice if doing my taxes would bring me joy, as it seems to be doing for accountants, right? Accountants must enjoy what they do. So, but having said that, it's just a reminder that we all have our different gifts to bring, and that's totally fine. I recently had a conversation with Tim about how to use a pressure gauger for the car tire, and he explained it to me, and I just forgot it after about 10 seconds, and I just realized it's not my forte. And I said to Tim, I could serenade my tires.
Very well.
That might work.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think, while we might look for all those traits or things or skills we don't possess, we can also remind ourselves that we all complement humanity by offering our unique abilities and skills, and that's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. And it is also never too late to learn something new, right? So maybe it's not going to be the putting the air in the tire, but there might be something else. I like this question because there's an aspiration to it.
Yeah, and there's also something beautiful about never having your checklist fully checked.
Yeah.
There's always more room to grow and more things to do. Yes.
Absolutely.
Question number 5. When the high holidays are over and you look back, how will you know that you have been successful?
My goal is that when I look out into all the little Zoom faces of all of you, that I will know more faces than I don't know. That is my hope and aspiration and desire, and I will feel like I accomplished that and feel like I'm in a good place as a new rabbi in this community if I can recognize more of you than I can't.
So I'm still learning how to approach high holy days without trying to be a leader of the high holy day services, and I think how I feel about my accomplishments in terms of tzedakah and tefillah and tshuva. Do I feel like I've made progress? Do I feel like I've done the kind of personal introspection and communal that I think are the invitation of the holy days? And will I take the time to look back at them? Because that's something that in some ways might be still new for me, like having the time to look back and reflect on what just happened instead of jumping right into the next thing, because the next thing is there waiting to be jumped into.
I think if I can provide a sense of connection, a sense of hope, a sense of encouragement, I would call it a success. This year, the quote-unquote usual things we do to inspire all of those qualities in the congregation are not as easily available to us. The communal singing, the silence after a musical piece or a sermon offered from the bima, the linking up, it's just not available to us this year. And so I hope we can create the sense of warmth, the sense of community, the sense of safety in the form of breakout rooms, chats, icebreakers, pre-recorded videos, shared screens, collaboration with congregants and clergy from not just all over the country, but all over the world, and model social coming together through our technology. And if we can just be another link in the chain in which Jews throughout the generations allowed their Judaism to thrive despite difficult circumstances they lived in. That would be a success for me. Question number 6. Name a couple of things on how LA is different from where you've moved here from.
LA could not be more different from Salem, Massachusetts, where I came from and drove across the country from. First, LA is huge. I have spent the last month that I've been here driving around a little bit and getting a sense. And it is a massive place, which is exciting for me because there's so much interesting diversity and so many different pockets and corners to get to know and learn, and different types of people and different culture. And I used to live in New York City, and one of the things I loved about it was the diversity. And I think Salem has a little bit of diversity, but I'm so excited to be back in a place and in a new place where I can learn about new different kinds of people and different all sorts of different. There's something for everyone. So I think that's a really big difference and an exciting return in a way, and a new thing to explore here. The other thing I would say is really different. There are a lot more helicopters here than in Salem, Massachusetts, and I am convinced that California as a whole, but definitely LA, is held together by spider webs because there are just a lot of spiders and spider webs here in Los Angeles, and not as many from where I am from. So those are the diversity, helicopters, and spider webs.
That's a great image. There's a drosh in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is so different from where I've lived before. Something that I love about Los Angeles, and one of the reasons that I think Tracy and I both want to stay here is the neighborhoodness of it, and the neighborliness of it. And it's sort of I remember it being a surprise to me. Like, it took me a while to live here and see the way it's laid out with commercial streets, and then behind the commercial streets, all these neighborhoods. And I've lived in several of them now, and each one has been just a pleasure, to actually a place where one meets one's neighbors, and it's quiet, and yet within walking distance of pretty much anything you might need to go get. And I just love that about it. I love the nature blended into the living space.
I think throughout the years, I really got to appreciate the natural getaways that Los Angeles has to offer, especially since having had a dog. Runyon Canyon is just so unique, I find, to LA. And if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere that it is either the country's or some sort of superlative largest off-leash dog park. And I've really come to enjoy it and appreciate it. And there is this micro community that has formed. If one hikes there on a regular basis at a regular time during the day, you will meet the same people. And I've had some really nice conversations with humans and their pets I only associate with Runyon Canyon. So that's been really, really nice. Okay, we have one last question. Number 7, what other jobs have we had that helped or influenced us as clergy?
So this is an interesting question for me, because I really haven't been anything else but a rabbi, which is funny because I've only been a rabbi for 8 years. So there's had to be something I did before then. And I was a student for a long time. And of course, I've had sort of small jobs here and there. I was a counselor at camp, which I really loved, which I think certainly influenced me in terms of realizing that I was actually good at working with people, and that I did like teaching, and I did like living in Jewish time. It was a Jewish summer camp. So I think those kinds of moments, it wasn't necessarily just the job that I was in, but these moments of my life that helped me realize potential that I had, helped me realize that I liked a certain space, certainly in the Jewish realm, helped me understand what it really felt like to live a little bit in Jewish time, and going to Israel also helped with that, obviously. But I think in terms of like a real job that I've had, this is my only real job, and I'm pretty happy with that. that. But there's definitely, of course, been influential moments that have led me to this job over the years.
I think when I was thinking about this question, I actually thought of two very small jobs that I've had. One was the first paying job that I had when I was 16, and I was hired as a switchboard operator at Sears Roebuck, at a very small Sears Roebuck store. And it was the old fashioned kind of switchboard where you pull the wires out and plug them in. And
is it fun? That seems really fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And I also got to be on the loudspeaker in the store to shoppers. There's a blue light special in the auto department for the next 10 minutes. And both of those things have proved really useful to me, like speaking into a microphone, as well as connecting people, right? And if you make a mistake on those switchboards, you're connecting, the wrong office and the wrong caller, or the customer to the wrong department. That's going to reflect really not well on the company altogether. So there is a lot of useful things that I had to learn in making sure I was careful about the connections that I made, that I helped people make to each other. And also just making those connections is something that I still really like to do. And the other thing I just have been thinking about lately, because of where we are in the world right now, or in our country right now, when I was in graduate school in Iowa City, Iowa, I had a job setting voting machines out in the countryside in Iowa, where my work partner and I drove out into the county we lived in, and there weren't even maps with road names. There were numbers of county roads, and really in the back farm country of Iowa, where we would end up like at a one-room schoolhouse, which still existed. And in the back, we had these instructions printed out for us, where we would go to the back of the schoolhouse, and there was a storage locker, and here's the combination to the lock, and you unlock it and you wheel out these big, usually one in each of those places, voting machine, and you had to set it for the next election. And I just had the most visceral, positive experience about what it means to live in a democracy and make voting accessible for every person who is eligible to vote. And it feels so contrary to what's going on in the country right now. But it really sealed the importance of voting for me. So I just have been thinking about that job recently.
So I think my training as an architect and my 5 minutes dabbling in architecture influenced me in the sense that I am able to be relatively organized when it comes to planning ahead. I like lists. I like predictability. And this is something I learned in architecture school, for sure. Like architects, if you ask them, they'll tell you that most of their nights while studying are spent being awake, building models, being by the drawing board, making sketches. And up until my very final project, I would finish a project around 5 a.m. and then at 9 a.m. I would have the presentation. And it was only for my final project that I was finished, I think, 24 hours in advance, which was just amazing to me. And I was able to make it happen by having a timeline, by making sure I am in alignment and in sync with the timeline, and relying on friends and delegating and outsourcing and really having a plan. And this is one of the greatest gifts of that program for me, I found, and it influenced me in my work today as well when it comes to working with choir, selecting music, making sure it's all in the folder, etc. I think also my eye for graphics and aesthetics is something that influences me and my work. Like I always have something to say about a banner, about a web page, and I'm always aware that it is not the traditional, that it's not within the traditional portfolio of a Cantor but I don't know if there's a cookie cutter cantor or a cookie cutter rabbi for that matter, or clergy for that matter. I think we all come with our previous skills and previous professional experiences. And I will also say that a job that has influenced me as clergy is my current job. Like, I keep being shaped and influenced and molded, but by the people I interact with, the people I learn from, the books I read, the musics I listen to, the sermons I listen to. It's just a never-ending journey, and I'm certainly not the same Cantor I was 10 years ago. These are all the questions.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to Lisa and to Juval. This has been so much fun to hear these different answers and answer them myself. I look forward to asking and answering more questions with you. We would love also to hear your answers. If you would like to pick a question that you like, that you thought you could answer, that you had an answer in your head, please put your answers down below. We'd love to read them and get to know you just as you've gotten to know us a little bit.
Really fun to get to know you, Jillian, a little bit better, and Juval. I always love getting to know and chat with you about just about anything. So now you're both falling into that category for me, people that I love to talk with.
The pleasure has been all mine. Thank you both, and I wish us all a smooth entry into the holiday season. And I look forward to be spending it with both of you, and to learn from you both, and to make it yet another season of meaning and meaningful return to our best selves.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. See you soon.